What up, everybody? Good morning and happy Victory Monday. DK Show up on the air on your radio dials. 105.1 FM, 790 AM, also available online at sportstalk1051.com. You got your Google and Alexa home device, or I should say, Google and Alexa home device. Yeah, smart speakers, smart devices out there. Also stream it up at sportstalk1051.com. You got the app, download that, take it on the go. Video streams up and rolling on YouTube and Facebook. Hopefully, all had a fantastic weekend, and you're ready to hit up a brand new work week here. What do we got on a good old game plan for us here this morning? As we said, Victory Monday, the Pack picking up their first win of the season. No Jordan Love. So let's run the football, shall we? Over 50 times in that game. The Packers leading heavily on their new running back, Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs, 32 out of the 53 total carries in that game. 32 carries, 151 yards for Josh Jacobs. But the Pack overall, 53 carries for 261 yards on the ground. Malik Willis getting the starts, an efficient 12 of 14 for a buck 22, one touchdown pass, no interception, no sacks either. So lots of credit to go around. Lots of, I think, tip of the caps to kind of go around here. Yesterday, though, it was like, they it's like picked up where they left off in Philly with some big penalties early on in the game that negated some big plays, and it's like this is just going to drive me bonkers. But nonetheless, they were able to combat that and pick up a win, jumping out to 10 points in the first quarter right away. The Colts initially had no answer for that Packers run game. Also, solid defensive performance. The Colts not able to put up any points in the first half. Made things obviously a little bit interesting there towards the end, but Packers were able to focus on running the football. They were able to focus on, giving Josh Jacobs 32 carries because of the defensive play and holding the Colts offense at bay and not allowing them to score, not allowing them to hit up any of the big plays that they did the week prior against the Colts, specifically, or against the Texans, specifically Anthony Richardson with his deep ball. Jonathan Taylor did have over 100 yards rushing, 12 carries for a buck 03. Kind of wonder why he wasn't there at the end of the game there, but Packers keeping the big play at bay from not allowing Anthony Richardson to hit the deep shot over there. So got to give a shout out to them. Obviously, want to clean up a little bit in terms of the running game there, but hey, Packers 3 turnovers, 3 interceptions already. What, they had 7 total interceptions last year, and they're already at is it 5, I believe? Yeah, because 2. Jair had 1, Xavier had 1 in week 1, and then so think about that, man. Already ball hawks out there in the secondary. Eric Wilson, though, I mean, what a pick he had from the linebacker spot, right? Man, lots to talk about this game, though. I want to hear from you. What stood out to you outside of the win? Was it the game plan from Matt LaFleur? Was it the defensive performance? Was it, Josh Jacobs, the offensive line? I think we could all agree it's probably all the above there. But I want to give a little bit more flowers to Matt LaFleur and the game plan he put together here too, because I mean, we saw some different stuff. It wasn't just running the football. We saw different formations. We saw, you know, different movements, different motions, a lot of fakes and trying to misdirection stuff over there. And part of me now is wondering, okay, when J Love does come back, are we still going to employ some of that? And maybe, did he kind of expand that playbook here a little bit and maybe find something a little bit more now when J Love comes back? Okay, you got the threat of Jordan Love and his arm and the passing game with those receivers, but if you're going to employ some of those creative, unique run motions, running attacks. Maybe found something a little bit more, and I think that may have helped yesterday's game and how Matt LaFleur called that game, and the game plan he came up with might have just helped evolve him as a play caller here too. I know it's just one game, but that was pretty darn impressive. The different, I think we could all agree, we saw some things that we have not seen Matt LaFleur call during his time in Green Bay. So, but want to hear from you. Texting line is open. Hit me up 715-830-1912. Brewers take a 2 out of 3. Let one go yesterday. Brewers down, then they came back and were leading. Then Diamondbacks tied it up. Then you go to extras. Jackson Chourio, they walk Bryce Terang to get to Jackson Chourio. First pitch, Jackson Chourio hits a triple to bring in 2 runs. Looking good. Maybe Devin Williams is coming out because he was warming up, but nope, they stayed with Jared King, and then things weren't going that great. Williams is warming up again, and then nope, he doesn't come back in, and the Brewers ended up falling to the Diamondbacks last night and not able to complete the sweep of this series. If you were wondering, kind of like some of the broadcasters were about what was going on with the Devin Williams and the bullpen situation. Pat Murphy after the game said they were kind of looking a little bit at the big picture or a bigger picture here. He said, for one, if Devin would have taken the mound, he would have pitched in 4 of the past 6 games. And with the Brewers in the middle of a 13-game stretch with no off days, he wanted to err on the side of caution. Quote, it was a consensus decision. If we brought Devin in for one hitter, a specific hitter or something like that, we could have done it with 2 outs. He was available, but not for any extended period. So if you put him in the game with no outs or something remaining, then potentially he's gone through a high number of pitches, and then he's not available. Devin said that he, quote, understands the decisions that were made. And when he was asked whether, he appreciates the Brewers were looking out for his health, he said, I mean, what's good for me is good for them, right? So you could tell he was a little frustrated during that final inning and extras there. But now we've got a bigger picture here. We got the Philadelphia Phillies in town, the top team in the National League. 90-win team, Philadelphia Phillies in Milwaukee for 3 games here. The Brewers' magic number is at 3. Again, combination of wins and losses. Brewers wins, Cubs losses over there. But this is, I think, overall, the bigger picture, Brewers pass test number 1, taking 2 out of 3 against the Diamondbacks in Arizona. Now you got 3 coming up here against the Philadelphia Phillies. Maybe really a chance to really kind of like continue to gain that momentum, continue to stack success, continue to play some good baseball out there, and maybe even potentially in the next couple of days here, win the NL Central. They can do it, I believe, as soon as tomorrow if all things work out. If they win today, pick up another win, or, got a couple Cubs losses in there too. So, but Philadelphia right now, the only team in Major League Baseball to have 90 wins. They're 7-3 in their last 10 games. So Brewers right now, maybe kind of chasing the Dodgers here for that second spot. Brewers overall 86-63, Dodgers 88-61. But we'll talk about this game, preview this game in the series coming up a little bit later on too. Badger football absolutely getting dominated by Alabama. To make matters worse, Tyler Van Dyke getting hurt in the opening drive, first portion of the game there. Braden Locke, maybe for a lot of us, our first glimpse of what he looks like and such. But 42-10 victory for Alabama over Wisconsin. Luke Fickell acknowledging the butt whooping after the game in his press conference, acknowledging it stinks, and especially since it's at home over there. But Braden Locke overall 13-26, $125 and 1 touchdown pass. Tyler Van Dyke did start off 5 for 5 but it was just 16 yards there. So, but 42-10 loss by the Badgers at Alabama, or at Camp Randall against Alabama. Excuse me. Badgers have the off week before they head over to USC. So Tyler Van Dyke's rest of his season looks doubts. I know nothing's officially official yet, but the way things are looking right now, it might be Braden Locke time. And well, I mean, at least they get a bye week to kind of help get him prepared, I suppose, at this point in time. So, but we'll talk some college football coming up here as well. We'll do some local sports roundup with Justice Cleveland between the 7 and 8 o'clock hour. So we'll hit that up. What's your weekend hangover? The highs and the lows from the weekend. Let me know. Okay, hit me up on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line with a text at 715-830-1912. What were your highs and your lows, or your best and your worst from the weekend? That's your game plan here this morning. So let's open up things here and, well, let's talk Packers football. We got our first victory Monday of the season, recapping the 16-10 victory. What stood out to you the most? I know there's a lot of things, but or what impressed you the most? Who maybe kind of gets a tip of the cap from you? Obviously, you'd probably throw Jacobs in there, maybe throw a little Malik Willis in there. You throw some defensive players in there. Thought Devontae Wyatt had a good game. You know, we mentioned Wilson a little bit earlier. I think Matt LaFleur deserves a tip of the cap too. So, but your thoughts, your reaction, your analysis from that win yesterday. Okay, start to hit me up with those texts, or you can comment on the video stream on Facebook or YouTube. So we'll take that. We'll take that first break here this morning, and then we'll get things going here. Coming up on the leadoff, little Packers talk after these quick words. With the opening of bow season, opening weekend of bow season kind of in the books there. Hopefully some of you, if you went out, had some luck. If you did, don't forget to upload it for our Ultimate Wisconsin Outdoorsman Quest that we've got right up on our website, sportstalk1051.com. Just click on the Outdoors tab over there for more details. But essentially, it's a outdoors checklist quest, and whoever accomplishes the most, well, you could be crowned the ultimate Wisconsin outdoorsman. So again, more details at our website, sportstalk1051.com. Click on that outdoors tab. And with hunting season here, don't forget, if you want to, maybe got a youth hunts coming up here or the rifle season coming up for you deer hunters, for us deer hunters, I should say. Don't forget to visit our good friends at Tilden Gun. You can check them out online at tildengun.com. Best prices, best selections in the Chippewa Valley. Otherwise, if you wanted to as well, you could check out their sweet shop. It's like it's pretty much a man cave over there, the decor and such. But 12427 90th Avenue in Chippewa Falls. Again, 12427 90th Avenue in Chippewa Falls. Get ready for the deer gun season, or youth hunts, or maybe you need an upgrade in your shotgun for some turkey or some for some waterfall. Whatever the case may be, Tilden Gun can help you out over there. All right, let's get things rocking and rolling here this morning on the leadoff. Pack picking up a 16-10 victory yesterday against the Indianapolis Colts. Packers winning their home opener. No Jordan Love, kind of no problem. I mean, obviously a little bit different there, but nonetheless, a win's a win here. And I think we could probably tip our cap to a lot of people, a lot of players or coaches from this game here. I mean, Malik Willis, again, was an efficient 12 of 14 for $122. Had one touchdown throw. Josh Jacobs, 32 carries for $151. Overall, the Packers ran the ball 53 times for 261 yards. Packers defense also coming away with 3 picks. Xavier McKinney with the second one of his season. Eric Wilson with a sweet interception later on in the game, and then Evan Williams to seal it up at the end of the game there on that Hail Mary attempt there. Braden Narvison, 3 of 4 from field goals. Extra point, made his extra point over there too. But Daniel Whalen too, I think we got to give a little credit to Daniel Whalen kind of flipping the field there. He only punted 3 times in the game yesterday, but every punt was within the 20-yard line, inside the 20-yard line, including that 59, 60-yard punt over there. Daniel Whalen, I mean, you talk about, I mean, that's kind of a defense performance over there too, pitting your opponent back within their 20. Solid performance from him. So I think, I mean, we could go all across the board and kind of tip our cap to a lot of different players from their performance yesterday. I want to start off though by giving a tip of the cap to Matt LaFleur from yesterday's game, because all week, we talked about what the game plan was probably going to be. Probably going to be a lot of running if Malik Willis was in there. Probably going to be a lot of handoffs. But it's one thing to just say we're going to run the football a ton. It's another thing to just to have success. Okay? We want to run the football, but we want to be successful in running the football. And I think it's fair to say, too, maybe the Colts, I know Greg Olsen. By the way, Greg Olsen, still, in my opinion, the best color commentator in football. When I listen to a game, I want to learn. I want stuff explained. Why teams are doing this. What's this? The thought process behind this and that. To me, Greg Olsen is still the best one out there. Still the best one for my money. So, but I thought he did a good job, kind of like even questioning, okay, Colts last week, they couldn't stop the run against Houston. You're coming into this game against the Packers where we know that they want to run the football. And it seemed like, the first quarter, first half, they were a little bit slow to adjust that, not loading up the box and initially right away making Malik Willis try to beat you. Nonetheless, the Packers took advantage of this. But where I want to give Matt LaFleur, I'll call him by his brother's name. What I want to give Matt LaFleur some credit for is it was new stuff. It was new looks. It was a lot of motion. It was a lot of misdirection. A lot of fakes here. So it was something new. And I thought it was really interesting after the game, too. I believe it was Malik Willis that said this. It would have been the same game plan if Jordan Love was out there. So if Jordan Love was out there, they were going to lean heavily on the run, probably to protect that knee injury of his. So it was the same game plan, regardless if it was Love or Malik Willis, which made it a little bit easier for Malik Willis to prepare. You're not preparing for a couple different, game plans or essentially like that. But LaFleur kind of opening up his bag of tricks or adding some stuff to that playbook of his. Thought he did a very good job of being creative and helping his offense, helping his team have success in running the football, not just turning it around and handing it off or doing some pitches here or just some jet sweeps a couple times here. I mean, you had them lining up in pistols. I mean, you had, all these other unique formations. So tip of the cap to Matt LaFleur. And I'm wondering, when Love does come back, what we saw yesterday in the running game and the different stuff that we saw in the running game, is that something? Because count me as one of those, I hope it happens. Is that something now that we can continue to do throughout the rest of the regular season? But now you have a threat of a Jordan Love with his arm. It's one thing with Malik Willis doing it, but when you got Jordan Love back and you got a little bit more of a threat to throw the football, does that open up things a little bit more? And I thought it was a day of, I could say maybe a little bit more growth, or maybe the best way to say is add another notch onto Matt LaFleur's belt. And he needs to be in the conversation, in my opinion, as one of the better play callers, offensive play callers in football. It's still Andy Reid. Andy Reid's number one. He's got the championships to go with it. I know he's got Patrick Mahomes and such, but Andy Reid, I'd still put him one. And you got Shanahan, you got McVay. Shanahan and McVay are always mentioned in the same breath. LaFleur, in my opinion, should be discussed a little bit more there too. So I'm really intrigued and excited to see when Love is back. Do they employ a lot of that stuff that we saw yesterday? I hope so. I hope we mix that in there. Keep everybody honest, right? So it's credit to Matt LaFleur, tip of the cap to Matt LaFleur for the different formations, the different stuff that he had dialed up. That was great. But in order to make that successful too, those players have to execute. And I thought Tucker Kraft was amazing, was fantastic in the blocking game yesterday. A lot of those holes, those edges, Tucker Kraft was the reason behind that. He was motioned quite a bit, whether it was, going to the other side of the scrimmage or going into the backfield as kind of a lead blocker or pulling from his original position. Tucker Kraft, I thought, was fantastic in the blocking game yesterday, helping out that running attack, helping opening up holes for Jacobs, or whether it was Lloyd or whoever it might have been. Tucker Kraft may not show up a whole lot. I mean, not a lot of receivers showed up in the box score, right, for yards and that. But Tucker Kraft, I thought, did a lot of the dirty work yesterday. And he was fantastic. In fact, I think you could, a lot of those receivers, I think it was Jane Reed that said it after the game yesterday. Coach said to put your blocking gloves on this week. And they all did a pretty darn good job out on the perimeter blocking and that. But Tucker Kraft, I think number 85, kept showing up on replays for some of those runs, sealing off edges, opening up gaps. Tucker Kraft deserves a lot of credit too. He deserves a ton of credit for a lot of the work that he did. Offensive line opening up some of those holes. It's one thing to know, or it's one thing to say we're going to run the football. It kind of reminded me of the old days, maybe with the Badger. I think Taucher even tweeted this. That Mark Taucher even tweeted saying that the offense yesterday kind of reminded him of '90s Badger offensive football. We're just going to run the ball. We're going to run the ball, but we're still going to beat you. We're going to beat you running the football. So the offensive line deserves a ton of credit, even though we had some penalties early on in the game there that negated some big plays, including a touchdown run from Jacobs. They bounced back. On a hot day at Lambeau Field, they were doing a lot of running, doing a lot of pass blocking there. Josh Myers is puking on footballs, but they still got her done. Give credit to Josh Jacobs, 32 carries, $151, being the bell cow yesterday. And then, rest of the offense, give credit to Malik Willis. Dude's been around for just 3 weeks. Was he asked to do a ton, throwing the football? No, he wasn't. 12 of 14, $122, hit a 40-yarder to Romeo Doubs. Hit that touchdown pass to Dontayvion Wicks, but he executed the game plan. And a couple big rushes, too. 41 yards rushing, using his legs, using his athletic ability. We talked about it last week, controlling the clock, time of possession. Packers dominated in that. They dominated in time of possession in this game. And that's exactly what they wanted to do. 40 minutes. 40 minutes and 11 seconds in time and possession for the Packers. The Colts didn't even have the ball for 20 minutes. It was close, 19 minutes and 48 seconds. But the Colts didn't even have the ball for 20 minutes yesterday. Nada. Dominating. And then on the flip side, you're only able to run the football too, and you're only able to run the football over 50 times if you're not in a shootout. If you're keeping things, close, or you have a lead and you're preserving that lead, you can only do that if your defense is up to snuff too, and the Packers defense did their job yesterday. Holding the Colts scoreless in the first half. Field goal in the third. That late touchdown in the fourth to make things a little bit tight, a little interesting there. And then the defense holding it down on that final drive with Evan Williams getting the pick on the Hail Mary attempt. But you can't run the ball for over 50 times if your defense isn't out there making plays, shutting down the offense. Taylor had himself a day. I think there's I don't know what Colts fans are saying or what they're saying on sports radio in Indianapolis this morning about maybe not using Jonathan Taylor more. He had 12 carries for $103. Seemed like he was getting in a groove there in the second half, and then you did see him only on the sideline. I don't know what was that was all about. But they contained Anthony Richardson. They didn't allow him to hit those big plays, those big throws like he did last week against the Texans. You look at the lines that Anthony Richardson had last week. Passing numbers weren't great, but he had a couple big plays. That's what made that game close. But the Packers contained that. He was just 17 of 34 for 204, averaging 6 yards per throw. Malik Willis was 8.7 yards per throw. But he also had 3 interceptions, creating turnovers. Packers defense had a nice bounce back victory. We knew that that unit had to lead this team in this game. They had to play some great defense and allow this Packers offense to do what they wanted to do. Was it a boring offense? Yeah, it was probably a boring offense to a lot of people. There's not a lot of balls being thrown. There was only 2 touchdowns total scored in the game yesterday. One of them coming at the end from the Colts there. But this was kind of a little old school type of football. Solid defense, good defense, and running the football a lot. Defensively, I thought Devontae Wyatt had a really good game. I thought he showed up in a lot of plays there too. Certain plays that won't show up in the box scores. Thought Devonte Wyatt perhaps had one of his best games of his young career. Eric Wilson, I thought, had a really good game. Forced fumble. He had that pick. I thought he had a really, he stood out in this performance too. So, I mean, there was individual performances that kind of stood out on the defensive side here too. But give that group a lot of credit. It was hot. Luckily, they were only out on the field for about 20 minutes. But there was a lot riding on their shoulders to help lead this team. And they did it. And they did a pretty darn good job. Defensively, I'm going to put him in this category defensively too. Another guy that gets a hat tip from me is Daniel Whalen. Flipping the field. Starting field positions key, right? Especially in close games. If you can flip that field and it's a tight game, to give that offense, that opposing offense, a longer field to go up and down on, makes things a little bit more difficult. And Daniel Whalen in his 3 punts, 3 inside the 20, giving the Colts not good field position to begin some of those drives. So you got to give your credit to him. Dude really kind of was standing out in preseason training camp from all the reports and such. And so far in the first couple of games, he's been really, really solid in these first couple of games. So looking at some of the snap counts here, because I'm always interested in snap counts to see who's played or who played the most and kind of rotations and that sort of stuff. Tucker Kraft, we talked about him a little bit. 80% of the offensive snaps. Luke Musgrave, a little bit closer, but 44%, a little bit closer to week 1, I should say. 44% from him. I think, Eric Stokes, it was interesting. There was a point in the game yesterday on the defensive side, too. It seems like Eric Stokes and Carrington Valentine splitting some reps over there. Carrington Valentine played 57% of the snaps on defense. Eric Stokes, 43% of the defense. So part of me is wondering too, does that have a lot to do with trying to, in terms of run support, stopping a run and such, playing a little bit more physical up there? Wasn't injury because Eric Stokes was back on that final drive on the field when it was obvious passing situations and such. Other than that, I think one thing too is Cooper just played 7 snaps in this game, and this was something that Matt LaFleur said that they would like to get him a little bit more. And you saw him early on in the game, but then kind of quite out. Wilson, if you think about it too, I mean, he played 8 snaps, and we were talking about him. I mean, taking advantage of your opportunities. I mean, Wilson took advantage of his opportunities in the limited amount of time that he played. Isaiah McDuffie actually played 89% of the snaps. Quay Walker, 100% to round out the linebackers over there. So still looks like we've got a little bit of a rotation going on at guard. Not much. It's still about, Sean Ryan played 71% of the snaps, and Jordan Morgan on offense played 29% of the snaps. So those are just kind of some of the things that stood out to me from that win yesterday. I don't want to overreact too much, because we always like to overreact a little bit when your teams win or after a football game. I don't want to overreact too much here, but I thought it was. I think this was a game that let me back up here a little bit. I wonder if this is a game that we'll look back on at a certain point in this season. We've got 15 more games to go here. So it might be a little premature to say this, but I'll be interested to see after maybe we get halfway through the season or in that final quarter of that season, seeing what this team is doing and how they're, what's their play calls, what are they doing? This was a game that I wonder if we're going to take a look back at it at some point in time when we look at what the defense did, kind of holding their own. And I get it too. And this was Greg Olson, I thought, did again a fantastic job pointing this out. If you think about Anthony Richardson, yes, he's in his second year in the league, but he's only played a handful of games, right? I mean, he got hurt last year. So it's not like he's the next coming of Cam Newton yet or whoever. Still a little raw. But you look at how this team kind of stepped up to fill the void of one Jordan Love. We talk about how a lot of starting quarterbacks kind of, or the top quarterbacks in the league, kind of fill in a lot of the voids or the weaknesses of their teams. And once that person is missing a game or misses a handful of games, it really kind of exposes your weaknesses on your ball club. Really kind of puts the spotlight on them. And I know the Colts probably aren't, the one of the best teams in the entire league. But what I thought the Packers did to get the job done yesterday and to get that win, I thought it spoke volumes. The way they were able to run the football, have success running the football, given different looks, given different motions, misdirections, playing some solid defense. I thought top to bottom, it was solid coaching outside of, some of the penalties earlier on in the game. Seems like they kind of shook that off for the rest of the game, though. I just overall thought it was very complimentary football. And what gets me a little bit excited, and maybe I'm putting a lot of eggs in this basket, but maybe what gets me a little bit excited is what we saw offensively, those different looks. When you get Jordan Love back, is that something we can still incorporate? Because I hope so. Because once you get a threat of throwing the football mixed in there, whew, that offense can be a little bit more dynamic too. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll round up the first hour here. Your thoughts, your analysis from the ball game yesterday. Hit me up. All right, hit me up. We'll be back in just a few minutes. If your vehicle is in need of an oil change or some new tires, whatever the case may be, look no further than our good friends at ASAP Used Auto Parts in Eau Claire, located right just across the street from the Do Dodge over there. Not only does ASAP Used Auto Parts help you save some money on some high quality used auto parts, but they are your go-to place when it comes to oil changes and looking for some new treads, looking for some new tires. So, I mean, if you look at the calendar, it may not feel like it this week. Winter will be coming up here in a couple months, few months. It's Wisconsin. Who knows when it might be next week. But if you need to get some new tires before battling some winter roads there, ASAP Used Auto Parts can hook you up with that. Just give them a visit, give them a call, and set up your appointment, and they will help you out. A couple texts here. Texters saying, how about our defense containing a scrambling quarterback and option plays? Yep, definitely. Absolutely. Did a fantastic job there. Dave said, why did the Packers not try to at least get a field goal at the end of the first half? Got to trust our backup quarterback. Matt LaFleur answered it in his post-game presser saying, some would call it conservative. I would call it smart. Said running a 2-minute drill with a quarterback who's only been here for 3 weeks would have been, quote, reckless. And I agree with him. I know fans were booing, which I didn't quite understand at Lambeau. They were booing that. And honestly, I had no problem with it. It's weird because I'm actually rereading When Pride Still Mattered, the fantastic book by David Moran. It's about Vince Lombardi. And I actually this weekend was reading a part where Lombardi never, or I should say never, he stopped kind of hurrying and going for that extra score before the end of the first half because it burned him one time. Got a little right, tried to do it and ended up having a turnover. The other team scored. They got the ball in the second half and they ended up double dipping and ended up losing the game. And there was at that point in time, I think it was like Lombardi was coaching college or even high school. He's like, I'm never doing that again, trying to, go down and try to score before the half and maybe end up making a mistake that could affect the rest of the game. I just thought it was interesting timing that because I know some people had that same question there too. But I've honestly I got no problem with LaFleur opting not to try to go for it in the second half. I mean, you got a guy who, only finished 12 of 14, and then all of a sudden, at that point, he threw less than 10 passes. I'm A-okay with him not trying to be too reckless. Maybe because worst case scenario, and I get it, hindsight's 2020 and all that. You throw a pick, Colts score before the half, they get the ball back. All of a sudden, maybe in 2 possessions, you're losing the game. So it stayed within the game plan. He didn't alter the game plan. I didn't mind it. I didn't mind not going for it, going to halftime, feeling good with where you're at that point in time. So I agree with the decision to not go for it, to not be super aggressive. What was it? Little under 2 minutes or something. So, but I know some others didn't. I just didn't quite get why there were fans booing about it. I mean, there wasn't really a whole lot to boo for. So I don't know. So, all right, we'll get back to some more green and golds coming up here at. Okay, one more text. Happy for the W. This is from C-Bomb. Happy for the W. Game plan was great in the first half, too conservative in the second half. Don't get me wrong, a lot of positives. But no way that should have come down to a Hail Mary. Indy made good adjustments, and we didn't counter too many penalties. It'll be tougher sledding on the ground against Tennessee. I'm curious to see what the next 2 weeks game plans are. Well, it sounds like you're still complaining, C-Bomb, a little bit. I mean, yeah, Colts did a good job. They finally put 5 up in the box there. I'm not going to complain with the win over with a backup quarterback that's been there for just a couple weeks. I'm really not going to complain a whole lot about it. I'm not. That's just where I'm at right now. And I thought overall it was fantastic. Defense played fantastic. Yep, Colts made some adjustments on the defensive side to slow down the running game. But overall, I thought Packers did just enough to win this game, and that's all I wanted. I just wanted them to win this game. However way they had to do it, Just do it. Packers just 6 penalties overall for 50 yards. So, I mean, it wasn't I would say the line of too many penalties. Yeah, they started off with, like, 3 in the first quarter, but it got cleaned up a little bit later on. So I don't know if I'd say too many penalties, in the second half or something like that. It kinda got calmed down there a little bit towards the end there. Definitely at the beginning, though, it reared its ugly head and took some points off the board there. All right. Coming up next hour, we'll talk to JC and EC, Justice Cleveland, sports director extraordinaire. Why are we? Okay? Now we got more Packers fans complaining about we only won by 6. I mean, come on. We had a backup quarterback who's been there for 2-3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, and we're complaining about a 16-10 victory where we ran the ball for 52, 53 times, and your defense did a pretty darn good job of containing a big mobile quarterback that has a big arm that made it close last week against the Texans that only lost by 2 because of big plays. We ran the ball for over 240, 50 some yards, and we're complaining because we only won by 6 with a backup quarterback that nobody wanted. That leading into this game, you had talking heads saying he's the worst quarterback in the league. Rex Ryan, Mike Tannenbaum. I mean, what are we doing here? Let's be happy with a win, Packers fans, for crying out loud. Was it perfect? No, but you had, again, a backup quarterback who has been in town in less than a month. And we're complaining that we only won by 6? Or they should have done this, or they should have done that. Let's look at the bigger picture here. Let's look at the dang bigger picture here. You got to win. You got to win without Jordan Love. You got to win with your quarterback that we didn't know who the backup quarterback was going to be in preseason. If that guy was going to be on the roster, we got to win with a quarterback that nobody was really intrigued about or happy about when the Packers made a trade. You got to win. Let's look at the overall picture here. Let's look at the bigger picture. There was a lot more good things happening in that game yesterday than there were negative. There's no such thing as a perfect game where every play goes right, where every decision is the correct one. If they go for a field goal in the second half, okay, they're up 13-0. That doesn't mean they're going to win by 9. Jacob, tell these Debbie Downers that we missed a field goal and fumbled on the 1-yard line. That's at least 6 to 10 more. You're right. Thanks for the message there, Jacob. You're right. Jacobs doesn't fumble before heading into the end zone. There's another score. If Braden Arvison doesn't miss a field goal, there's another field goal. Got Dan from River Falls. I'm not complaining. The complainers haven't played football or lost money. So, man, let's be happy with the win, you guys. Come on. Looking at the bigger picture there. If you told me my quarterback threw for 14 times and I was able to run the ball 52 times, I mean, for how many years from the last few years, going back longer with Mike McCarthy and Matt LaFleur with Aaron Jones, how many times have we said, please run the football more? Your team literally ran the ball over 50 times in that game. 50 times. Let's be happy. I hope we don't have a lot of people upset we didn't, probably should have scored more. Probably should have. Yeah, Jacobs could have had that touchdown. Boom, 17-0 at that point. And it's probably over with. Who knows? Hopefully defense doesn't get complacent or anything like that. That's why I don't like to pinpoint certain plays in the first half or at certain points, because that doesn't mean it's going to finish the same way. It doesn't mean that if they go up 17-0, it's going to be 27-10. Kenny, I was ecstatic that they were playing as a team and started to show what they can do. Matt LaFleur put a good game plan together. Go Pack Go. Kenny up north. Yes, there were mistakes, but they held together. All right, 1 hour in. Let's regroup. Second hour coming up next. Second hour kicking off on this Monday morning, September 16th. Big thanks for tuning in if you're just up and at it and getting going here on a brand new work week here. We'll get back to some more green and gold chats here in just a little bit. We've got some Badgers to chat about getting dominated by Alabama, although I don't know how much we wanted to actually talk about that. Tyler Van Dyke's not looking good, potentially done with this season, but we got to see a little bit of Braden Locke. Over the weekend. Also, Brewers, they will be back in action. Big series starting tonight against the Philadelphia Phillies. Magic number is down to 3 for the or I keep wanting to say it's Badgers for the Brewers for some reason. I got Badgers on my mind.
Just
I don't know why.
Wishful thinking.
Wishful.
Badgers could play it as well as the Brewers.
That's true.
I put as many points up as the Brewers did in some of those games.
Right, exactly. So we'll get to those coming up here in just a bit. That other voice you hear is, of course, Justice Cleveland, Sports Scene 13, over at WEAU 13 News. How you doing, man?
Good.
You look like you're ready to hit the golf course here a little bit.
I'm not.
No.
I wish.
You wish? Yeah.
I always dress for the part. Maybe somebody will just ask me. We need you.
Yeah.
We got this big scramble going on. We need you in here.
Or, hey, I got to get a third or a fourth dude on here. Free round.
I'm always ready.
There. So.
Free golf is, I'm always ready for free golf. I'll tell you that.
Right? No kidding. So, big thanks for stopping in, man. And we got lots to catch up on here in just a little bit of time here, under an hour. We have our local sports roundup too. I mean, football wise, the Blue Golds. I mean, what a game on Saturday there too. And I know we'll hit that up here in just a little bit, but a come from behind double overtime loss there. So, but Packers wise, we'll lead off with there because that's where everybody's kind of at right now.
Right.
Aaron, good to hear from our good buddy Aaron. I can't imagine what it's like to coach an NFL game with your backup quarterback who has been there for only 3 weeks. Hell of a game by Matt LaFleur. He should get a game ball. What was your thoughts? What was your analysis from the game? I thought Matt LaFleur did a hell of a job in terms of game plan. We saw different stuff in the running game. I think we all knew they wanted to run the ball, but it's one thing to want and another thing to be successful at it. And they were pretty good at it yesterday.
Yeah, I think, kudos to Matt LaFleur again with his back against the wall with the Malik Willis, guy who you trade for right at the cut deadline.
Yeah.
And you get him ready. And I think everything kind of worked out to plan, I'm sure. I mean, you get the early lead. You don't put the game on Willis's back.
Right.
You put it on the running game's back and the defensive back. And they were able to hold, it got a little more exciting probably than you wanted at the end, but you're able to hold on. Yeah, I think Matt LaFleur did a perfect job in getting that game, knowing what their opponent can do. And I think really you get that early lead, and then you put the defense out there, and the defense played great. And even the last drive, they're in panic mode as Indianapolis was, and there was chances to end the last scoring drive that didn't come to fruition. So I think all in all, you bring your backup quarterback in and you change the game plan that everybody's expecting from this team. Because I don't think we thought this was going to be a power running team,
right?
With the amount of wide receivers they have, but that was the perfect way to do it.
Yep,
it really was. I think Willis, you limit the amount that he had to really carry the team. But when he made the big throw, he made a couple of big throws.
Yeah, obviously.
So. Yeah, all in all, I think that was a great job by Matt LaFleur and this coaching staff to get that victory.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I didn't know how to feel about this game heading in because Willis was such a wild card into this thing, and tip of the cap to a lot of people I think involved with that. The defense, I mean, different individual players. Hell, Daniel Whalen with his punting of flipping the field, which is even more, important when you're in a struggle of scoring like this. So I think a lot of people deserve game balls from that game yesterday. I know Malik got the lone one apparently from Matt LaFleur, and I think too, it was, to me, it was I'll say this. We've seen backup quarterback play and teams with a lot of talent struggle with backup quarterback play. Jets last year. Okay. We saw a team, I thought yesterday too, kind of come together for that backup quarterback.
Yes. Yeah,
And I think that was just huge in that win too.
and I think you saw it. I think the whole team knew they rallied behind Malik, but also, as I mentioned earlier, they didn't want it to be Malik has to carry this team.
Right.
And they have enough talent on that team that that's the way it should be. I don't think it should be just one player individually carrying that team. I don't think it's I don't this is a different team than it was with the Aaron Rodgers era, where I think a lot of times it was expected, no matter what was out on the field, that Aaron Rodgers was going to carry this team. Well, you get this team, this Packers team is ultra talented, young, and a hungry team, and they all accept their roles. No one's out there saying, the receivers could complain and be like, oh, why aren't we getting as many catches? Christian Watson doesn't, get shut out.
Right.
Those are going to come, especially now. If you can just establish this power running game like this, you're going to get those strikes downfield. If Josh Jacobs keeps doing what he's doing, that's the two-headed monster you would love to have, and a balanced offense, which has been hard to come by a lot of times in Green Bay at times. So I think this, to me, is what you wanted to see, and have everybody step up and rally from Malik Willis. I mean, to me, it was, for you Badger fans out there, this was a Scott Tolzien game.
Yeah.
Not Scott Tolzien as a Packer, but Scott Tolzien as a Badger, where he goes ultra efficient, 12 of 14, and a touchdown pass. Doesn't make the mistakes.
Right.
That's what Tolzien did as a Badgers quarterback. You forget how efficient he was that's exactly what the Malik Willis game was here. And then you let your running game run wild. And I mean, Josh Jacobs, 151 yards, 32 attempts. I think it was the third most, they said.
Yeah.
I mean, we're back to like Lombardi era football there. I mean, that Bart Starr, that's the kind of game that you and the scoring too. You would have thought it was the Packers versus the Baltimore Colts,
right,
in this one here. So yeah, I think it was a throwback game. You let your defense hold down a Colts team that doesn't know really what their identity is yet,
right,
with a young quarterback. So I think everything was done pretty much to perfection. People would I wish they would have had more points. End of the day, 16-10 is a victory, and you're 1-1 on the season with your backup quarterback.
I will take 1-1 with a backup quarterback in that second game as opposed to 0-2.
Right.
And like, score more points or whatever. So.
And I think we saw maybe, we don't want to use an excuse, the field in Brazil, but I think we saw the defense play much better. And I don't think Indianapolis is quite to the Eagles,
right,
on the chart for offense, but I think they performed much better. And again, Quay Walker gets that interception.
Oh, yeah, right at the end there. That would have been done with.
It would have been over. So
exactly.
I hate to say it, but I knew right away. I couldn't see the number, but I'm like, that's Quay Walker. It's almost like he's just that guy that when something like that's going to happen, and I that's not a detriment, but it just he's got that bad luck sometimes. It's almost like the Leon Lett, where it's like if it was going to happen, it was like, oh, that's Quay.
Yeah.
And the fact the guy caught it too. I mean, one thing if it would have went incomplete, but the guy to catch the ball,
Alec Pierce, yeah.
Like if that's what ends up flipping this game is that one play. But in the end, it didn't matter.
Exactly. So, and you kind of, I'm excited too when Love does come back.
Right.
To see, I hope they incorporate these plays that we saw yesterday, that Matt LaFleur incorporates some of that, because now you have the threat of a guy who does throw, and you're bringing in the threat of those receivers with that unique running style or formations that we had so much misdirection, so much motion yesterday. That just adds another element to this offense that I'm excited about. I
mean, heck, I'd love to see them like utilize Malik Willis.
Yeah.
Just have him come in there and get some wildcat stuff kind of going. And I love that. I mean, there's everybody on this team can run.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the big thing. All the receivers, you can run out there. You had 3 running backs getting utilized in this game.
Yep.
If your quarterbacks can run, I mean, I think Matt LaFleur is really starting to open up that playbook and really see what this team can do. And you're going to face a test at Tennessee road game,
right?
Backup quarterback, obviously going back to where that's the crazy thing. Like if Jordan Love doesn't play,
right?
I'm still leading. I don't think he does.
I think he does.
You think he does?
I don't know. He was moving around pretty good on that sideline over there. So I don't know. We'll see. I think if they lost, for sure he would have played.
Yeah,
this week.
I think it's one of those. Do you say, okay, it's a road game, maybe we don't want to? Let's get them. Then the Vikings. I mean, the Vikings could be, all theory, 3-0.
Right. Exactly.
They come into Lambeau in 2 weeks. So
yep, you're division leading Minnesota Vikings right now.
Yeah, who are playing very well with Sam Darnold. Well, you have Justin Jefferson, and you get a guy who can throw it right to him.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
They had a good game yesterday, and they're off to a good start. Lions falling yesterday to Tampa Bay, and then the Bears falling late last night too. So now there's panic with their offense after the first couple weeks with the Bears.
Of course.
With
God
just 2
forbid you
weeks.
throw a rookie quarterback out there. I mean, leave it to the Bears to screw up a rookie quarterback.
Right?
I
Yeah.
don't think Caleb will. The book's not even close to being written there.
No,
But
not at all.
I mean, Houston didn't do anything too impressive on the offensive side too, and I mean they've got a lot of weapons as well. So I think it's so early in the season, and
Well, that's the thing too, is like a lot of these starters don't play in the preseason, so it's like these first 2-3 games in the regular season are
Right.
kind of like the preseason.
yeah,
a
that's
little bit.
Did we ever get an answer of why Jonathan Taylor wasn't out on the field for the?
I didn't see any. And I'll be honest, I didn't really look that hard, but that was definitely kind of. I mean, the dude was having a day, 12
Right.
carries over. I mean, he was the offense for that Colts team.
Unless they just don't they don't like. He's a good pass catcher. We saw
Yeah.
that at Wisconsin when he was so.
Yep.
Just an interesting decision there.
Yeah, I'll have to. Maybe I'll look on the good old. 'Cause I got to imagine Shane Steichen was asked about it. Yeah, he didn't play in the fourth quarter at all.
That's different. Yeah.
I just yeah. Okay, I'll see if I can find it. Here we go. Nope, that's. I'll look for it later.
Yeah, I mean, 12 carries, 103 yards. He was averaging almost 9 yards a carry.
Mm-hmm.
If there's anything that the run defense kind of struggled for the Packers yesterday, but a lot of that I think was made up when they were, Baltimore. I almost called them Baltimore. The Colts were still playing from behind, and at some point they had to abandon and start passing a little bit more because I mean, I think they would go in saying they wouldn't want Anthony Richardson throwing the ball 34 times.
Mm-hmm.
So
right. All right. Let's take let's switch gears here. No, actually, let's take a quick break and kind of regroup here a little bit. So
I'm gonna call for the early timeout here.
You're gonna call for the early timeout. So okay, so like this is the concern for the Packers. They completely dominated the game, and yet Indy had a chance to win at the end. You just can't fumble inside the 5. They also had chances to put them away. Overall, great win, no doubt, and winning is all that matters. Again, a lot of ifs and whats and
right. Yeah, I get it. You don't want to make those mistakes. You don't want to miss a field goal late that keeps. Indy. I get that all in all, but.
Yep. You don't want Josh Jacobs fumbling when he's heading into the end zone, that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
but
obviously, yeah. But you still managed to escape with a win.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, are there learning points? Obviously, there's stuff that needs to still be cleaned up. Every team this point in the year, there's a lot of stuff that needs to be cleaned up. But to say they should have, thrown up 42 points against this Colts team, maybe with Jordan Love, maybe with maybe if they're fully secure in that passing game but with Malik Willis it was game managing.
Mm-hmm.
He managed the game, but he got a win.
Yep.
And the Packers relied on their strength in the game. That was the run and the defense.
Yep. I don't care how they did it. They got the W at this point.
Exactly.
So let the coaches use the other parts of that.
Right. I'm sure there's going to be a lot to clean up.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely. All right. We'll take a quick break. We've got some Brewers magic number 3 to get to here. Can they do that can they clinch the division against the Phillies, who right now are the best team in baseball in terms of wins? The only team at 90 wins right now. We'll talk some baseball coming up next. When it comes to finding all of your tailgating needs, you only need to look at one place, and that's Hy-Vee, your tailgating headquarters. Whether it's food to put on the grill, snacks to munch on during the game, or getting some swag for your favorite team, whether it's at the pro, high school, or college level, Hy-Vee has it all. Just go visit our friends at Hy-Vee and load up those shopping carts for the next ball game, your tailgating headquarters. Maybe even get some Man Cave Light over there or some of those Dan Good burgers as well to throw up on the grill. Throw up on the grill. That didn't sound right, right? We're not Josh Myers throwing up on a football or anything. So throw on the grill.
Must have been doing a little too much tailgate.
Yeah, right, exactly. Can you imagine that though as a quarterback? Like, just keep going, man.
I feel like that's something like the defensive tackle or a nose tackle would do to an actual.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was like puke snap. There wasn't like a delay. It was like you could, because I saw the close-up video, which was but it was like puke snap, and it's like, all right, just got to go.
It's gotta be one of the warmer home games.
I think it was. They said like the second warmest, and I wonder if the warmest was the one I was at when it was the Vikings, and ended up in that tie.
The tie game. Yeah, that day I remember that day too was just brutal out there.
I know Giannis was at that game. I think our buddy Neil Aber got a picture with him.
That's right.
over there too. But yeah, that was one of the hottest ones, and then it went to overtime, and it still ended in a tie.
My second favorite tie game that I've been to.
Was the other one the Matt Flynn
and
Tolzien one?
Two Vikings games. I think those are the only two ties the Packers have had.
Could be if you don't count like the early.
Yeah,
when they actually
in the last.
Yeah.
How many years?
Yeah,
80s, and there seems like there was a lot more ties back before.
I just remember that game like, okay, Clinton Dix had to pick. It's like, okay, it's over with. Then something happened, and then Jair had an interception right in front of us, but then there was the roughing the passer on Clay Matthews that got negated the interception, and then I think it was
it Thielen?
Yeah,
I feel like he had a huge game.
Yeah, there was a ridiculous catch to the sideline there. Then I think the Vikings kicker, it might have been Joseph, actually missed the game winner.
It wasn't Joseph.
It wasn't?
At that point.
Was it Carlson?
It was Carlson.
Okay, yeah.
Because they ended up cutting him.
That's right.
Weeks later, and now he's been just like lights out for the last 5 years since then.
Because it was like
or 4 years.
40-some-yard field goal. It was a makeable field goal, I think,
Yeah.
and he missed. And it's one of those, if you're at the game, depending on where you're sitting, you don't know if it's made or miss until the crowd reaction.
I don't even think because I think by that point I was down on. That's back when we can go down on the field for the 2 minutes, and I was down there for the whole overtime. And you thought it was over, and every time you thought it was over, it was not over.
Because I was on the opposite end, so I'm like waiting for the fan reaction. I thought he was just going to make it.
Yeah,
and then I'm like, wait, it's one of those. So, but
12 straight home openers, by the way,
for
the Packers. That is, and like the second longest streak is 3.
Yep,
that's pretty amazing. You know, we talk about Lambeau not quite being what it the home dominance like it was like in the 90s where they had the huge winning streak. But I think to do that is pretty amazing. 12 straight, and no one's even close in the NFL.
Baseball wise, switch over here. But overall, I know yesterday's game, if you were kind of watching it too, is getting talked mostly about what transpired at the end there. Devin Williams, why he didn't pitch, and that. In case you didn't hear, I know that was a big question mark if you're watching or listening. No broadcasters like, what's going on here, and all that. Pat Murphy said after the game, it was they didn't want to overwork Devin Williams. If he was in a situation where it could have been one batter, if there was a couple outs and just one batter, they would have brought Devin Williams in. But to face multiple batters, they weren't comfortable in that because he would have pitched in 4 of the 6 days, and with no off days built in here.
Right.
They were kind of looking at a bigger picture there in that sense, which I know some fans still won't appreciate. They won't like that. But that's where they were at. Nonetheless, they did take 2 out of 3 against the Diamondbacks on the road, which I think is the bigger picture.
And
here.
you basically have 2 closers on the Brewers right now.
Yep.
Like, so I have no problem switching things out there. I mean, you don't want Kanan coming in and giving up what he did, but
right.
Yeah, it's a tough. You're a little worried when you're giving up 11 runs. That's the more concern. I mean, it's just wasn't a great day for the Brewers. But again, they're playing 500 baseball this month. Basically, that's going to get you the division. But you still would like to see them, especially this next stretch here with these next 6 games, 7 games. Arizona and Philly, maybe, try to take 4 out of those 7. Kind of look at it as almost like a little mini playoff series here.
Mm-hmm.
You get 7 games here against playoff teams. See if you can get 4 out of 7, if not 5 out of 7, and get that momentum going for that last couple games of the season. But first off, just clinch the division, get it done, and then go on from there.
Right. No, it's so soonest they could clinch this division's tomorrow. If they win today, Cubs lose, and then they put themselves in a position to potentially get it, or a mixture of that. It's Brewers wins, Cubs losses,
right?
For the magic number here. So it'll be interesting. Obviously we're looking at the division and such, but this is another test here. I think one of the final tests coming up here for this Brewers team. Can they beat a team like the Phillies?
Right.
Especially when you get to the postseason. I mean, obviously you're playing the best of the best at that point. So I think they passed their first one, taking 2 out of 3 against Arizona.
Yep.
Almost sweep them on the road. You're going to have them again for 4 games after that. Now you got Philly, the only team with 90 wins in Major League Baseball. They've won 7 of their last, or 7-3 in their last 10 is their record. I'm looking at this like as another litmus test, but also 2, to continue to start to stack that success and get that momentum going into the postseason.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement with that, because if you look at it right now, I think most of the people from the outside would look at it as Philly and the Dodgers.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think are the 2 that everybody's like, okay, these are the 2 teams that, if they're not, one of those teams isn't in the World Series, the Brewers need to get themselves to that level.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a good performance here, get themselves in that conversation, because I think they are, but they're still not quite there. I mean, when they were battling for that top spot for a while in the National League, I think people really started noticing, and now they've been kind of plateaued a little bit here.
Yep.
The last couple of weeks. So I think this would be great if they, get a sweep of Philly going into an Arizona series.
God.
That would really get that team, I think, like you said, stacking success. I think that's what they're looking for. When are we going to get more Jackson Chourio for Rookie of the Year?
Right?
I mean, 21 home runs.
First of all, what is that manager thinking of walking Bryce Turang to get to Jackson Chourio?
Apparently he hasn't watched any of the Brewers this year.
Is it just like, okay, we're going to see if this kid can, young kid can live up to the moment?
He's been doing it all year.
I know. It's like, I think he's young enough to where he just doesn't understand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're
nothing
too young.
phases him.
No, nothing at all.
276 batting average, 21 home runs now, 77 RBIs, an OPS of 808. That's 30th in the league.
Yeah.
I think, and he's not going to probably win it.
I think probably Jackson Merrill at this point is still going to.
But his numbers are right there with Merrill. That's the thing.
And the thing I go with this, and I know we're probably playing a little homerism on this, but you look at this Brewers team. Their main stars not played in the second half barely. Christian Yelich, and he's done. Yep. He's essentially replaced Christian Yelich in left field. And, kind of in the lineup, I know he was getting spot starts, or starting all over the outfield and that. But you look at this team and you compare it to the Padres, like, okay, yeah, Fernando Tatis, Manny Machado, they got dudes over there. Whereas Jackson Chourio, yes, everybody has really kind of stepped up this year. But I look at Brewers, first place team in their division, and you got a Rookie of the Year candidate without a lot of stars. That to me is Rookie of the Year.
I mean, outside of Adames and Contreras, it's really not there hasn't been you can give Rhys Hoskins every once in a while. Everybody has had their moments. I won't say that. And then, that's been the fun thing about this team. But yeah, for a guy to step in to a former MVP's shoes and has been playing lights out, hitting as well as Christian Yelich was when he was out there, I think it shows a lot for a guy who's still 20 years old. And as exciting of a player at that age the Brewers have had since one Mr. Robin Yount.
Oh, that's a good name. Yeah.
I mean, this is as good as anybody I've seen. Yount was 18 when he made his debut, so it's a whole different story there. But
baseball's different now, though, too, where you don't see those guys unless you're Paul Skeens or Bryce Harper kind of jump up right away.
Right. It doesn't happen. You don't get the no minor league experience. And then it's not like Chourio played in the minor leagues. So, this is what he's doing is special. And again, I think this is what happens for the next 10, 12 years, whatever that contract they have for him. Yep. It's going to be amazing.
Yep. So, yeah, I'm really excited about this series coming up with Philly. I hope it's well, first of all, I hope they win it. They clinch everything, but I want to see them take down a top team, which still is still mind-boggling to me last week when we talked about this, and I think they probably just improved on it since they beat the Diamondbacks, they won the series. In the National League, the Brewers have the best record against teams 500 or better.
I believe it because it seems like they struggle sometimes against those teams that
They play down to the competition a little
Right.
bit,
yeah.
either that narrative, but when because this was last week, they were only second to the Yankees. The Yankees had the best in Major League Baseball, and then the Brewers, but they just took 2 out of 3 against the Diamondbacks, so they had to improve on that.
Yeah.
So it's like when you think about it, it's like, oh, they can't beat the Dodgers or the Phillies. Yet here they are with the best record in the National
Right.
League as teams over 500.
And we know they can, and
Mhm.
it's just a matter of getting some consistency.
Yeah.
As against these teams, and again, like you said, they're doing it. They've been doing it all year. It's just you worry because this is a Brewers team that's been to the playoffs,
Yeah.
much of the time recently, and not been able to do anything since they made the run to the NLCS.
Right.
So now you once we get closer to October, you start getting a little more nervous, and just I think we uber analyze this team to see what they can really do in the playoffs, especially with like the starting pitching and relief pitching's been so like lately it's been up and down. They were dominant for a while, struggled lately, but if
Mhm.
now you can get back into a rhythm with those guys finding it again, that would be huge too.
Mhm.
By the
Yeah.
way, I don't know if it's probably flipped now because I think Otani had some RBIs, but Willie Adames
Yeah,
for a
that
while there,
surprised me too.
it was the National League leader in RBIs, which
Yeah.
how I would say lucky, but how smart was it for them not to deal him in the offseason? I think we
know.
were all waiting for the deal to happen.
Me too.
I'd written him, there was no way we were going to see him in spring training because
Nope.
contract year. Why would they? It's the Brewers' way of trying to get whatever you can for him. But man, keeping him has been just huge.
Mhm. Yeah, no question. I mean, it's been unreal. Unreal what he has meant, and obviously contract year, dude's gonna get paid. I hope it's in Milwaukee, but I kind of doubt that.
Yeah.
At this point.
109. I mean, he's playing. This is your example of a good contract year season. I mean, he's doing everything he needs to.
Mm-hmm.
He won't get mentioned in the MVP, but probably should.
Yeah,
for putting up the numbers that he's put up.
I agree.
I mean, he's been one of the most consistent players. I mean, he's been there every day.
Yep.
When you have somebody out there that you can rely on every day and it's been coming up with clutch hit after clutch hit, that's an MVP candidate.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't think because of just the way the national pundits tend to go,
right,
the narrative's not there, but I think he's been playing to be one of those top players in the league.
I agree. All right, before we take a break and get to a little local sports roundup, Badger football. Yeah, not great.
No.
Luke Fickell saying afterwards, he told the guys, if you haven't had your butt whooped before, that was a butt whooping. And yeah, that was a butt whooping. 42-10. Van Dyke's probably done for the year.
Yeah.
It seems like that. Seems like it might be an ACL injury out there. So we're gonna get Braden. Got a bye week to get him prepared and such, but okay. Now that we've seen this team for 3 weeks, you lose your starting quarterback. You got USC coming up after your bye.
Yeah.
On the road. What should be the expectation for this Badger football team now? Now you got Illinois that jumped the top 25. That's a heck of a game coming up on Friday. Illinois, Nebraska, by the way.
I mean, you hope they take this. You took this one on the chin, and it really makes you refocus. It's not like they were dominating these first 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, Luke Fickell said, these aren't supposed to be, you aren't supposed to just go in and automatically win those first 2, but you would have loved to have seen a better performance. And I hate to say it, I don't think there was that. I wasn't surprised too much by what happened in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Just what I'd seen from the Badgers in the first 2 games. It's
Yeah.
just, this Alabama team's on a different level right now. And unfortunately, I think the Badgers are on that second tier of teams right now, trying to get up to the top tier, but just not at that point yet. I think it's still early enough in Fickell's tenure that they can get there. But there's been so much, there's been a lot of changes in the last 2 years. I think we'll see what they can do with the rest of the season. Again, like USC coming up, you've got another big matchup. If you can bounce back and put up a professional, I don't know what I want to say, that impressive performance against USC, and then that could springboard you for the rest of the season. You have to at least be competitive in that game.
Right.
And there's still tons of season left and a lot of things working out for, the Big Ten. But yeah, you would love to have seen a better game this last weekend. But again, not a surprise just knowing how talented that Alabama team, and just Wisconsin's not quite there yet.
Yeah. I don't know you've got USC, you've got Penn State. Now you throw in some of these other teams that are kind of playing really well from the Big Ten,
Yeah.
Illinois and Nebraska. I don't 500. Are we hoping for I don't know.
I think they can be better than that. It's just I just don't know where they can get to that, like what tier they're going to be at. They're a bowl team, obviously. I think they're a team that can right the ship and play much better. It's just you still haven't seen that dynamic offense kick in yet that you've been hoping. I think Badger fans have been just waiting for a passing attack to kind of happen, but still want to have that running game. I don't know. With Alabama, you're playing from behind. You had the 3-0 lead, and I almost when Ches Malusi fumbled when they were down 7-3.
Yep.
And then Alabama. That was that's the turning point. You cannot give an Alabama team that opportunity to come back and then just take control of the game, which they did after that.
Right.
That was your chance to answer. And he had, it was a nice run by Malusi, put his head down, and they just happened to get their hat on the ball and cause the fumble. But I think after that, I don't sure it wasn't the Badgers, but I think if you're a fan, you're looking like, oh, here we go.
Right.
You cannot. There's no margin for error against a team like Alabama.
Right.
And losing your starting quarterback was strike one. Strike two was falling behind, and strike three, I think, was that turning the ball over there.
Exactly. So. All right, let's take a quick break here. We'll wrap up this hour with JC. Lots to catch up on the local scene here. Blue Gold football in a thriller, falling in a thriller on Saturday. Come from behind, forcing double overtime there. We got that plus another week of high school football in the books, and a whole lot more Blue Gold volleyball opening up at Sonntag. JC finally got to see it.
Finally
let them in. Credentials approved and everything over there. So lots to catch up on. We'll take a quick break and be back here in just a few minutes. Fire up the grills for this football season, fall season, with Mike's Star Markets. Also, with hunting season here, too, if you need somewhere to take your deer in, look no further to get it processed by Mike's Star Market on the west side of Eau Claire. If you just go to their Facebook page, they've got all the pricing and details listed up on their Facebook page. So don't fret if you are lucky enough to get a deer this year at any point in time. Just head on over to Mike's Star Market and drop it off over there. And and every Saturday too, they got some samplings they're going to have out there for like summer sausage and such too. So or get an idea of what maybe you want your deer processed into. All right, let's finish up the second hour talking local sports roundup. Little Justice Cleveland, sports director extraordinaire, Sports Scene 13.
Hey-o.
Another week of high school football in the books, Justice. Last Friday nights, we had more games in action. Kind of starting conference play for some of these
most
too.
of them are. Yeah, I think everybody's in conference. There gets few crossover games and non-conference, but yeah, most of them are all conference games now.
Okay.
Most are. Yes.
No sense. So we had, was it Memorial was at home? Was that Marshfield?
Marshfield, yep.
Okay.
Got a lead, and then Marshfield just kind of turned it on there and kind of built up a lead and just got the momentum going the whole rest of the game. So
okay,
tough one for Memorial there. That North got its first win up in Superior, so they'll both meet at Carson Park on Friday night.
So the inner city rivalry,
yes,
over there.
And Memorial obviously wants that first win,
right?
North wants another win to kind of keep maybe building something and have a chance to make a run possibly for the playoffs. So it's a big game for both these teams. Really, it is. I mean, kind of make a break either way for both of them. So I think that'll be obviously always a fun matchup when you have the inner city rivalry. But I think a little spice to it there when you think of kind of the repercussions that come with that game. So,
exactly.
And Big Rivers wise, we saw Rice Lake go to Menominee, get a win, and continue to just roll.
That's a big mark. That's like a signature win. Would you say for Rice Lake?
I think so, but they've been just like, that's how good that team has been.
Yeah.
That offense just clicks. I mean, it's like 70-yard touchdowns, one after another. That Dan Hill's really got that team playing really well for a team that's stepping to Division II this year.
Yeah,
as defending champs from D3. So they will take on Chi High. So that's going to be a fun one. That's up in Rice Lake. Chi High bounced back, and they got a win over River Falls this last week.
Kind of old school versus new school football a little bit offensively.
Yeah, but I think Rayco's teams are more, they do the running game, but I think it should be a good battle. I mean, they're going to have a tough time containing that Rice Lake offense, but I think that'll be a fun one up there in Rice Lake. I really do. And, Menominee's got Superior and Hudson's got Spash. Hudson's looking to bounce back after a tough loss to New Richmond. And New Richmond just continues to, they got River Falls. And if they win that, at some point it's going to set up the New Richmond Rice Lake matchup there. So, yeah, on the Big River side, those teams are all tough teams right now. Rice Lake's on the top of the hill. I think New Richmond's right there below them. But all those other teams have a chance to knock those off because they're just super talented teams.
Right. Regis, I know, picked up a win against Durant, Arkansas to remain undefeated. They got Fall Creek coming up
this one. That's a Thursday night matchup for them. So, yeah, for them get the early week and kind of get to see what everybody else does after them. But, yeah, still got Fall Creek put up a ton of points in their last game. So, by no means is it, a walkover game. I think that's going to be a tough battle. The Battle of the Greens there at Carson Park on Thursday.
How about, did we have Mondovi Stanley Boyd? Was that this Friday?
Yes.
How did that one shake out here?
I mean, we've looked at those two games. That game was one of those marquee games, and it lived up to the hype.
Yeah.
I mean, those two offenses can go a lot, but also their defenses are pretty good. So, yeah, I think having...
Yeah, Stanley Boyd picking up the victory in that one.
But Mondovi putting up a tough performance, and they were right there at the end.
18-12,
I think it's kind of a good throwback game for two teams that can put up a lot of points. But I think that's what so Stanley Boyd sitting right there, and I don't know what week, I'd have to look it up, but whenever we get the Stanley Boyd Regis matchup,
I actually have Regis scheduled because I know Regis plays Mondovi right after Fall Creek. So this is Regis. They got Fall Creek, Mondovi, Stanley Boyd. That's your three next games.
So, I mean, there's a chance, Mondovi's going to, look at that. You don't look ahead
Right.
in high school football, but
Right.
we can look ahead and think that that's a big stretch of games right there with Regis playing both
Mhm.
those teams that are right around them
Right.
for that conference lead. So.
Yep. And 2 of them are at home for Regis. The lone road one is going to be at Mondovi as well. So that's going to be interesting. The Clover Belt kind of setting up to be kind of an interesting race.
Right, because I mean, right now you have Regis and Stanley Boyd 2-0.
Mm-hmm.
After that, and I don't want to discount these teams. Durand, Arkansas, and Elk Mound, they play each other this weekend.
Right.
This week, on Friday. So that's a separation game for one of them to get the 2-1.
Mm-hmm.
Fall Creek's 1-1, Mondovi's 1-1. So I mean, everybody's right there in that conference, and Regis right now, 96-22, they're outscoring their opponents. So they've been playing well. But yeah, Fall Creek's, I think got the second most points in the conference with 60. So there's, I give Fall Creek a puncher's chance in this one, a fighter's chance. So on Thursday night, we'll see what can happen. But yeah, Regis has been playing some great football. I got to see them against Elk Mound the week before. And yeah, that's an offense that, per usual, you don't know where the ball's going, but you have 5 talented guys that are probably gonna have a chance to get the ball on every play, if not, the way they do it there. So yeah, I think that'll be a fun matchup on Thursday, and
little rivalry matchup between those two.
Those two teams. I think if Fall Creek, if they had to pick their number one rival, to me, from just my 14 years here, Regis would be that number one rival.
I think so. Yeah, I was going to kind of say the same thing there too. So I know some other scores too. Oliva Strum just edging out Melrose Mindoro 22-21. Boyceville undefeated right now.
Yeah,
4-0.
That's one of those teams at the beginning of the year we were looking at. They got a tough matchup this week. Glenwood City's 3-1. So it'll be a test for Boyceville on the road, I believe, at Glenwood City. So we'll see how kind of a regional rivalry there too. Just 2 neighbors battling each other, both winning records. So that should be a fun one.
I know 8-man football too. Owen Withey with a big win over McDonald Central, 58-27.
Yeah,
big one there.
And they got Thorpe this week. So speaking of rivalry games, another one just right down the road from each other, and then McDonald and Gilman. Gilman at McDonald, so that'll be another fun 8-player game. So those 2 right there.
Gilman just put up 75 against Cornell, 75-0.
Yeah,
last week.
McDonald's, probably as one of the top teams, I feel like in 8-player, getting matched up in the back-to-back weeks against 2 top teams in 8-player as well. So see how they bounce back against Gilman.
Right. Altoona football, kind of where everything. Were they at in conference and such? So
yeah, so they play in the middle border.
Middle border.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I believe they have Amory this week in the Battle of the Giant A's.
Nice. That's a good one.
When you think of logos, that's the way I look at it that way. But yeah, I think if you're like an Altoona, you're trying to get those wins. You're trying. Obviously, everybody's trying to get their wins, but you're trying to get yourself in a position to be in a playoff spot. And at 2-2. You're sitting right there. So this is a big game against Amory. They just suffered a tough loss to St. Croix Central on Friday, 43-28. St. Croix Central's a good team, and for Altoona to they put up 16 points in the fourth quarter to get back into that game. You've got Amory, then you got Baldwin Woodville, and then Ellsworth is a big one. Ellsworth is just a machine so far. So if you're Altoona, I think this is a big game to get that 3rd win and. Again, just try to stay around 500 and get above 500 and have a chance to make the playoffs, because I think Altoona has some talented athletes in there, and if they could stay healthy, they have a chance at a playoff run.
Right. Staying with football, but just going over to the Blue Golds here quick, because I know we're kind of running out of time here. But Blue Golds, they were down early against Coe College in that game, but they made a heck of a comeback in that thing. Ended up going to overtime, double overtime there. They did fall a little bit there, but again, I think a team, a program that we feel like is on the rise, with Coach Erickson at the helm there. Don't like to say that can you take positives away from a loss, but did this game kind of tell you anything about, where this program is heading?
Oh, I think it told you a lot. I think to be down to a national, team that was one of the national ranked teams, to come back in the second half, because I honestly, I looked at the halftime score and I was doing stuff around, and then I'm like, oh, that's going to be tough to battle back. And then when I flipped it on again, all of a sudden they're headed to overtime. So
yeah,
I think that was you don't want to say statement, because you didn't end up winning the game. But I think that's a game you can look back on and say, okay, this is where we were last year. We went to Coe College. They blew the doors off of us.
Mm-hmm.
They came to our house and escaped with
Yeah.
a win. Because Blue Goals had a chance to win it with a field goal in regulation or take the lead in field goal in regulation. Went to overtime, had their chances. Couldn't do it, but Cole very much escaped with a win because the Blue
Mhm.
Goals were putting up a great performance. So I think going forward, I think it shows the steps that this team is making and where they were from last year
Mm-hmm.
to this year. So I think it was a big performance by the Blue Goals. Again, you wish you had the win, but yeah, I think that was a great showing to people to say, hey, this is a different Blue Gold squad.
Yeah.
This is a team that is on the rise.
Yeah, because I think a lot of times, for a lot of teams, you're down by that much early on. Maybe there's not that much fight left.
Yeah.
That team battled back, and man, it made it really close. We're this close to be talking about a 2-0 start,
Right.
for the Blue
I mean,
Golds.
to me, that's as close. I mean, when going back to when they beat St. Thomas.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a big win for. I think this almost might be, to me, even bigger, even though it wasn't a win,
Mm-hmm.
because this is a team you had just played last year,
Right.
got blown out, and showing what you can do against them. I think
Mhm.
it's going to be big for the rest of the year.
To kind of wrap it up, we only got a couple minutes here. Blue Gold Volleyball opening up at the Sonntag Center, the Sandy Schumacher Memorial. They went 3-0.
Yeah.
This is a young team, but you look at what they're 6 wins in a row, including a win against Gustavus Adolphus, which is a ranked team. I know, heading in, they talked about their youth, but they're 8-3 right now, and
Right.
they've won 6 in a row here.
And they open conference play at Stevens Point, which will be a really good test for them
Mhm.
right off the bat. And yeah, watching that team and getting a chance to see them, they're going to scrap. They had they can go down, they can lose a first set,
Mhm.
and then they just come right back, reset it, and battle back. I think Maya Cinemo has been just a joy to watch out there. Such a smart player, and the surrounding cast is Bailey Leak. This is a talented team, young team, but we're watching them grow
Mhm.
and get to that point where I think they're going to really make some noise here in conference play.
Yeah, that's. Oh,
I got to add one more thing.
one more.
Nathan Donovan,
Yes.
soccer player,
Yes.
3 straight hat tricks.
How about that?
And I got to see the one on Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was there for that one. What a guy to start your program with.
Right.
And getting close to 100 career goals. Just an amazing player. And yeah, to watch him
Mhm.
on full display on Saturday was a joy. And,
You were
good for Casey Holmes' team.
Yeah.
Not just Nate Donovan, but the whole team for the victory.
You're kind of like Chancellor Jim making the rounds, because I saw him at the football game. Then he was at volleyball. Then he was at soccer.
Yeah, I
vice
saw him at
versa.
soccer and then volleyball. So yeah,
He's going around. So you guys might as well carpool next time or something like that. So, hey, Justice, we appreciate you always popping in and dedicating some time with us.
no problem.
Hopefully, again, we'll talk about another victory Monday for the Green and Gold next week. Hopefully, a little bit more enthusiasm about the win.
Nah.
Not from you.
No, not from me.
From others out there. But no, we appreciate, keep up the good work with you and your entire team over there.
Well, thank you.
I know we got some big high school games coming up here too. That's got to get everybody excited in the office. So,
Oh yeah.
all right, 2 in. We got one more to go. We got some news updates, and then we'll be back to finish up our final hour after these few words. Final hour on this Monday morning, on this Victory Monday morning. Big thanks for tuning in, wherever, however you may be tuning in from. Coming up, we've got Weekend Hangover. What are the highs? What are the lows? What are the best? What is the worst from the weekend for you? Let us know. Hit us up with the text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line at 715-830-1912. Let's catch up on a couple texts here. G-Man, I forgot to get your text here a little bit earlier this morning, man. G-Man saying, DK, a win is a win. Way to go, Pack. Brewers are going to win the division this week. Rogers never wanted this kind of motion on offense, and look how much success the Pack had yesterday. Rogers, this is what works in today's game. Go Pack, go, and go Brewers. P.S. DK, during the Packer game, they said the Pack are 62-0. Oh, yeah, 60. I think it was 62-0-1. One tie on there when leading by 10 or more points in the fourth quarter. Is this right? I know what graphic you're talking about. I saw that. I think there was a tie in there, though, too. I think there was a tie. I must have been one of those. Was it that Vikings game in 2018? Were they up by 10 in the fourth? I'd have to double check that. But I know exactly what graphic you're talking about, G-Man. I did see that during the game yesterday, too. So if you had to hand the game ball out, who are you handing your game balls out to? All right. Who are you handing a game ball out to? Probably a few different players or maybe some coaches out there. But if you had to hand a game ball out to maybe just one, let's go two. All right, let's go two. If you had to hand it out to two, at most two, or maybe you just want to do one, that's fine. Who would you do it? All right, who would you hand it out to? Hit me up with a text or a comment on the video stream over there. Packers 16-10 victory yesterday. Malik Willis getting the start. Jordan Love was downgraded to doubtful on Saturday, which, again, I don't know if it was some gamesmanship, but Friday he was listed as questionable, which is technically 50-50. 50-50 chance to play, which some people are like, ooh, is okay. That mean he's going to play? That mean he's going to, get out there? And then Saturday, list is doubtful. Sean Clifford promoted from the practice squad, or elevated, from the practice squad. Then also, we knew what was happening. So we knew Malik was going to be the starter heading into Sunday. I think a lot of us probably knew that Green Bay was going to run the ball, that they wanted to run the football. But were they going to be successful at it? Assuming that the Colts knew that the Packers were going to want to run the football there. And the Colts the week prior at stopping the run again. They stunk. So I think, like, maybe he thought, okay, Colts are just going to load up that box and say Malik Willis beat us. And even Greg Olsen during the telecast was like, why aren't the Colts, maybe kind of just even overcommitting to stopping the run here? You know what Green Bay wanted to do. They wanted to run the football. Why not be a little overcommitted, especially with last week? Be a little overcommitted and stop and run. Colts finally, did that. They started to load up the box a little bit more. They put 5 down linemen or 5 linemen up there and had a better job of stopping the run. But luckily, Green Bay had built themselves a lead, and the defense played pretty darn well. And I think, too, when you look at the amount of possession, first of all, Green Bay dominated in time of possession. 40 minutes to just under 20 minutes. We'll round it up to 20 to make it even 60 over there. But technically, if we're looking at numbers and time-wise, Colts had the ball for under 20 minutes in that game. Packers were controlling the clock, controlling time of possession, controlling pretty much almost everything in this game. And when you look at it, Green Bay, the amount of drives they had, the amount of times that they had, the football, they had it 5 times only in the first half, or 4 times in the first half. Just 4 times. And one of them was end of the half. They opened it up with a field goal. Then they had a touchdown. I mean, you're talking 8 plays, 42 yards first drive, 11 plays, 82 yards for that touchdown, 10 plays, 68 yards. Jacobs fumbles it going into the end zone. Could have been 17-0. And then, that was 5. Then they had that punt. And then before the field goal there. Then the second half, 1, 2, 3, 4, just 5. 5 drives in that second half too, controlling the clock. It's exactly what they wanted to do. It's exactly the game plan Green Bay wanted to do, and they executed it pretty darn well. Maybe not 100% perfect, but pretty darn well. So I think you could give a game ball to a lot of different people in this thing. Matt LaFleur, Josh Jacobs, offensive line, Tucker Kraft. I know I was talking about Tucker Kraft quite a bit in the first hour, but Tucker Kraft may not show up in the box score, with fancy receiving yards or catches or touchdowns. But Tucker Kraft was a big reason why that running game was having success yesterday. I don't know how many times they highlighted him. Greg Olsen highlighted him, and I know tight end on tight end love there. But sealing the edge, opening up holes. I mean, that guy, we talked about him after week 1, looking at the snap counts like, oh, yeah, he's clearly tight end number 1. And then you look at what he did in helping out the running game this week. Tucker Kraft deserves a lot of credit. He deserves a lot of credit for what he did to help out that team in the running game yesterday. So he gets a game ball from me. Defensively, I thought Devontae Wyatt played really well. I thought he played really well. He made that nice tackle on the back before a loss, was a part of him and Quay Walker on that rush that resulted in a pick to Xavier McKinney. Maybe one of the better performances from Devontae Wyatt. Wilson, in his limited amount of snaps yesterday, making an impact, forced fumble, had a pick. We talked about Xavier McKinney picking up another interception over there too. So, I mean, Green Bay got off the field. They didn't allow the Colts, at least in the beginning, in the first half and such, to get in a little bit of momentum. No scoring until the third quarter when they put up a field goal. So, I know it's only 2 weeks in. But right now, Green Bay currently leads the league in rushing yards, takeaways, and interceptions. 6 takeaways, 5 interceptions. There's one thing we wanted to see more of from Green Bay this year. And it's only 2 weeks in. Again, I don't want to overreact to just 2 games. I don't want to overreact to that. But we're seeing one of their goals already, the early stages of this. We're seeing them getting the ball, getting those turnovers, making plays on the ball, in the air, interceptions-wise. And maybe once offenses get a little bit more comfortable, maybe get a little bit more, maybe those numbers kind of die down here a little bit. Maybe when you go up against better quarterbacks or such, that'll change here a little bit. But hey, you got to tip your cap to defense forcing those turnovers. Overall, was it the most entertaining game yesterday? No, it wasn't. I mean, I shouldn't say that. For some, maybe if you like your old school ground and pound and in defense, you loved yesterday's game. You loved the fact that Green Bay ran it over 50 times and then only threw it for 14 times. And you loved the defensive battle there. So I probably shouldn't say for everybody that it wasn't the most entertaining game. I'm sure some thought it was. Was it the prettiest? Probably not. There were some plays left on the field. Obviously, the fumble by Jacobs. Green Bay had a shot to maybe go up 17-0 and really kind of maybe put the nail in the coffin there. Would have been interesting to see how the Colts would have played offense to open up the second half if they were down 17-0 instead of 10-0. They start to throw it a little bit more. Do they start to show off Richardson's arm? Do they start to, connect on some deep balls like they did the week prior against the Texans where they had, 3 50-yard passes, I think it was. You look at Richardson's box score from week 1, it wasn't that impressive, but then you look at some of those throws like, oh, dude does have an arm. So, I mean, a lot of what ifs. What if Jacob scores there? What if Braden Iverson makes that field goal? What ifs? Point is, Green Bay went into this thing with a backup quarterback that has been there for 3 weeks. A quarterback that a lot of the national experts out there didn't believe in. And they were vocal about it. Didn't believe in him to get the job done. We even had people saying, maybe there should be Sean Clifford starting over Malik because Malik's only been there for a couple weeks. Did Malik light up the scoreboard? No. 12 of 14. 120-some yards rushing, or 120-some yards passing, 40-some yards rushing. Had a touchdown pass on her. Did he light? No, he didn't light up. Is he going to be a sought-after free agent for a starter next year? Probably not. Based off this one game. We'll see if he plays next week. But he did the job that he was asked to do. He did it. He wasn't asked to go out there and win it with his arm. He wasn't asked to go out there and run all over the place. He did his job. He executed the game plan. The offense executed the game plan that was put in front of them. And that's all you can ask for. 16-10, 30-3. Wins don't keep track of what you win by. So I was impressed with how the Packers executed their game plan. I was impressed that they were able to run the ball for 50 sometimes, that they ran the ball for 50 sometimes, that they stayed committed to running the football. They were having success running the football. I mean, it's one thing to run the football and you're not gaining anything. And it's another where you're running the football and you're still picking up big chunks of yards and you're having success. It's still mind-blowing to me that I thought the Colts would just oversell and try to stop the run. I don't know what they saw or what they were prepared. I don't know. I don't know what Gus Bradley was, what the game plan was. But to come out also to create some new packages. We saw little pistol formations in the game yesterday. We saw some misdirections. We saw a lot of fakes. And what has me kind of intrigued going forward with this thing now is that when Jordan Love does come back, I really hope we see some of the stuff that we saw yesterday implemented in that game plan. I hope we see that when Jordan Love's back. I hope we still see some of that similar stuff. And we might, because, when Jordan comes back, he's probably going to have a brace on to protect the knee. He's probably not going to be 100%, whether it's this week or next. Whenever he comes back, he's probably not going to be at 100%. So I would imagine Green Bay is still going to focus on really trying to run the football. But you add in the element of Jordan Love can still throw. Compared to Jordan Love to Malik Willis, Jordan Love is more of a threat at throwing the football than Malik Willis is. But you add in that element to what we saw yesterday with those receivers and such, I think that adds a little bit more to that playbook. That's what has me kind of excited. I should say I am excited for the next few weeks here. I had somebody talk to me yesterday, and he sent me a message. A buddy of mine sent me a message. He said, "Tell you what, though, having Love out today might be the best thing that could happen for LaFleur's play calling. Not relying on Love's arm and thinking you need to use it more than necessary, maybe something that comes of this." And I thought that was a interesting perspective, an interesting thought. Could that be, we talk about that and a lot of different stuff. Well, could that have been a blessing in disguise? Could that have been, kind of tell the whole story, shows you some weakness, shows you other things, or you have to adapt in a certain way. And that's where I'll be curious to kind of follow along now once Love is back. Does the play calling go kind of back to maybe what it was in week 1 or the second half of last year? Does it evolve? Does it incorporate some of the elements that we saw yesterday? And I hope it does incorporate some of the elements that we saw yesterday. And it's not a knock on LaFleur's play calling, because LaFleur's play calling last year at second half was amazing. It always felt like he was one step ahead of the defensive coordinator. And that's what I want from my offensive play caller. One step ahead. But you add in all those different elements to try to confuse a defense. It just that game and that design and the game plan and such just gave me a big time Shanahan vibe. It kind of felt nice to be the team that was just running it all over you instead of being the team that was getting run on all the time by the 49ers. We know we've had that a few times happen to us. But it just had that vibe of a Shanahan. We want to run the ball and we're going to run the ball. Shanahan wants to run the football. He wants to run that football. And it just got the vibes of that yesterday. Don't get me wrong. I want Jordan Love in this lineup. This team's way different when Jordan Love's in there. I don't know. You're going into Tennessee next week if Malik Willis does get that start. A Tennessee team that 0-2, but, given their weird decisions by their quarterback yesterday, Will Levis, against the Jets, they were kind of in it, and they gave the Bears a little bit of their run for them. If it wasn't for the offensive play from the Titans easily could maybe be 2-0, at least 1-1 at this point. So it's going to be a tough game next week, regardless. If it is Malik Willis next week, now you got another week of preparing. You got another week of preparing him as the starter. Do you do a little bit more? Do you add a little bit more? Or do you come out there with that same game plan? Because stuff's going to be on film, right? I think you have to add a little bit more. I think you have to wrinkle in a little bit more. Josh says, funny stat, Malik Willis has more passing yards than Caleb Williams. Now, I haven't looked, but that's what I heard. I saw something like that. Let me see if we can look that up here quickly. I saw some meme like that. I don't know if that was before last night's game or after. So he's got, yeah. So overall, Malik Willis or Caleb Williams has more passing yards. Caleb Williams has 267 passing yards. So Malik Willis, it must have been before the game last night. So Malik Willis had more passing yards in one start than Caleb Williams had in one start. Because Caleb Williams had 93 yards in his first game against the Titans. He had a $174 last night. So, yeah, it was before Sunday night's game. So we probably saw the same thing there, Josh. But overall, what's your reaction? What's your thoughts from the game? What's your analysis from last night's game? Dave saying, I can't believe the people who are complaining that they only won by a touchdown in the game yesterday, considering everything about with Malik starting the game. I'm a little confused on this text. Let me try to decipher this. Considering, I think what you mean, considering that we had a backup quarterback in Malik Willis starting the game, I'd rather have the win than outscoring a team by 30. Okay. I don't know if a little talk to text there or what. I'm trying to decipher the text there. So Dave, if you want to maybe kind of re-text me a little bit there, that'd be fun. But I think what you're saying is, point being, you had a backup quarterback in there. You take the win and just run with it, right? Kind of sort of thing. Matt saying, thought this was one of Matt LaFleur's best game plans of his career. I hope he starts to get the respect that he deserves from national people out there. I saw Rich Eisen giving him some flowers yesterday. Rich Eisen said, man, Matt LaFleur is a winner, period. Guy knows how to gut it out. Another texter here. This one is from Benjamin. Benjamin saying on the Shoe Doctors bullpen line, I honestly went in the game yesterday thinking we weren't going to win. I thought it would be a low-scoring game, but I didn't think the Packers would be able to do enough to win. So the fact that they were able to establish the run early, have success, and jump out to a lead, I thought was awesome to see. Super happy about the W and not starting 0-2. That's where too. I think it's pretty important that how the Packers started out jumping out to a lead right away, 10-0, 10-0. You knew then the Colts would adjust, but you already kind of built in a little bit of a cushion there to have success early, to come away with points early. You build a lead, and then you're really kind of relying on your defense to shut it down for you, to close it down for you. So it's a good thing that Green Bay was able to get that cushion to get that early lead there. Because give credit to the Colts. Colts did a better job in the second half of continuing to run there a bit. You got to give them credit. They did. They did. But Green Bay was able to build that lead a little bit early and rely on their defense to kind of hold it down for them. More texts coming in here. Super impressed. This is from Chris. Super impressed with the defensive performance yesterday. Not allowing Anthony Richardson to bulldoze over them, not allowing him to hit some big throws like he did the week prior against the Texans. Definitely feel like that was a sign of things to come with this defense. I hope you're right, man. I mean, I hope this is a sign of things to come for the defense. Now I know it's the Colts, and I think again, it's a tricky game. I'll mention Greg Olson because again, I still think he is the best of the best right now in the business in terms of color commentating. It's a sham that he got demoted to the 2 spot. I get it. It's Tom Brady. He draws money, but he made a great point too. Even though Anthony Richardson's in his second year, remember he only played a few games last year. He's still kind of new, still kind of raw, but we know Anthony Richardson's got all the athletic talent in the world. He's got a strong arm. He's mobile. And I thought the Packers had a good game plan going up against him. Yes, Jonathan Taylor had success running against them too. I mean, 12 carries for over 100 yards. You'd like to see that shored up a little bit. It's still a question mark. I don't get why the Colts didn't have him playing in the fourth quarter. I mean, he was standing on the sidelines with his helmet on, so I don't know if there was anything out there. But you look at the last 2 weeks now for this Packers defense. Jalen Hurts. You stopped Jalen Hurts, or contain, stop, whatever word we want to use. In week 1 from rush, he had credited with 13 carries. I know a few of them were for the tush push, but it was like 30 some yards, I think, on there, 40 maybe. He wasn't running all over the place. And then Anthony Richardson yesterday, you didn't see him running all over the place against Green Bay. What was his official line here? Let me bring it up. Anthony Richardson, 4 carries for 37 yards. Yes, it's a 9.3 average. He had a 21-yard scamper on there. But, I mean, just 4 carries. That's 2 weeks in a row now, Green Bay, for their defense, has kind of attained a mobile quarterback that isn't afraid to put the ball down and run a little bit. That's kind of new, right? I mean, that's kind of new. Kind of a nice breath of fresh air. Maybe that's that 4-3. I don't know. But that's 2 weeks in a row now. They've kind of neutralized, contained a mobile quarterback from running all over the field. All right, we got to take a quick break here. We'll be back with more of your texts. Hit me up, though. I want to hear from you. Your analysis, your thoughts on the game. Come on, Packers Nation. I think you got to be a little bit more fired up. It's a Victory Monday right now, okay? First win of the season. We got 15 more of these to go here. Let's get a little bit fired up. We'll be back in just a few minutes. This Friday, we're going to be over at Blue Marble Pub for Oktoberfest. They're going to have breakfast starting at 9 a.m. over there. We're going to be doing a podcast. Brandon and myself are going to be doing a podcast, probably starting up at about 9:30 or so, maybe closer to 10 by the time we get over there after we do the show and such. But you can stop on by, hang with us. We're going to do a little brat tasting. We're actually going to fire up the mobile man cave grill and put up some brats. And Brandon and I are going to do some taste tests. And maybe if you stop by, we'll give you a little sample. Big shout out to Mike's Star Market and be doing some brats from Mike's Star Markets over there. But again, starting at 9 o'clock on Friday, Blue Marble Pub for Oktoberfest. Stop on by for some breakfast and hang out with us over there. A few more texts to catch up on here. Surveyor Sam, can we talk about the Packers defense finally shutting down a mobile quarterback? I was dreading Richardson running for over 100 yards on us. Have to tip my cap to that defense, just locking it down. Yeah, I kind of just mentioned it there too. Like mine's right there, Surveyor. C-Bomb says, it feels like people still think that LaFleur is a new coach. This is his 5th season. How quickly they've gone by. I think his game plan this weekend was excellent. Easy to be critical after the game, but taking somebody nobody wanted and in 2 weeks winning with that guy running your offense is no small feat. Jair should get a lot of props. Pittman was held in check all game. Great work by 23 and the entire secondary. You know, again, the one thing too that I think should get some props here is that this team, and it's only one game, so I don't want to overreact too much to it. And I know it's hard not to because we only got one game and we got to talk about it for the whole week. But this team rallied behind their backup quarterback. I mean, some of these guys knew who they were. Xavier McKinney played college ball or high school ball with him. You know, Christian Watts said he got to know him a little bit through the draft process and that. But a lot of these guys probably don't know a whole lot about Malik Willis. This guy just got here 3 weeks ago. But everybody rallied behind him. Everybody kind of upped their game here a little bit too. Like, okay, we got to step it up here a little bit. Coaches rally behind him. Teammates rally behind him. And yes, once in a while we've seen backup quarterbacks able to step in and kind of, pick up where they left off and keep the thing going. I'll go back to the 49ers here too. I mean, they went through Jimmy G to Trey Lance to back to Jimmy G to now on Brock Purdy. And they still are able to do a lot of the stuff there too. And I'm not saying the Packers are going to be this way and, with Malik Willis, we don't see him anymore this year. I don't know. But the fact that they rallied behind him and I think to me shows the making of how close this team really is chemistry wise. Everybody within that roster. And we've seen a lot of it. And I'll go back to Matt LaFleur kind of to feed off of C-Bomb here. Talk about Matt LaFleur and his play calling and the job he did there too. Maybe not the greatest example, but I'll go back to last year's Jets teams when Rodgers went out. And you had Zach Wilson coming in there. And I'm looking at some of his game lines. So week 2, they lost to Dallas, but it was a score of 30-10. So, Zach Wilson threw 27 times. But in the next few games here, you had him chucking the ball 36 times. They lose by 5. 39 times, they lose by 3. 26 times they won that one. That was against Denver. Philly, they won 19 times. They went on that 3-game winning streak there. But, I mean, you have Zach Wilson chucking the ball 33 times, 23 times. You had Breece Hall. You have Breece Hall under 900 or under 1,000 yards. You had, great defense. It's just I would rather take Matt LaFleur. I guess what I'm trying to say is I'd rather take Matt LaFleur over Nathaniel Hackett to call my offense, to come up with a game plan to help better suit my quarterback. To help my offense be successful. To help win ball games. I don't care about if it's the highest scoring offense in the league. I mean, those are fancy numbers to talk about. Gives us something to talk about, throughout the week and such. The only stat I care about is win column, whether it's a win or not. But looking at this game, and then just again, I think it's another feather in the cap of Matt LaFleur, and it seems like the majority of Packers fans are pretty complimentary towards Matt LaFleur, and it's good to see that. And I'm glad to see that they're giving him a little bit of credit, because Matt LaFleur, I feel like, for maybe some doubters out there, or maybe some people who still question him, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, you got Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers won MVP twice." Then it's like, okay, now you don't have Aaron Rodgers. We'll see how good of a quarterback you are. Then Jordan Love plays like the second best, or plays like the best quarterback in the league in the second half of the season. It's like, and he gets a big contract. It's like, oh yeah, Packers hit on another quarterback. Matt LaFleur, benefits of that. So it's like there's always an excuse surrounding Matt LaFleur's play calling. There's always an excuse surrounding, maybe how good of a play caller he is, or good, how good of a head coach he is. So now he's got Malik Willis here, who's been in town for 3 weeks, and he develops a new game plan here. And now it finally seems like maybe he's getting a little bit more cred. Because I do think like he kind of gets overlooked as maybe one of the better offensive play callers in the game, in today's game. And I really believe the more we see this offense from last year to maybe even this year and going forward, he had to meet in the middle with Aaron Rodgers his first few years. We know Rodgers does not like motion. He doesn't like it. He would rather line up and try to dissect what a defense is doing, instead of trying to run guys in motion and create a little misdirection and such. He would rather try to analyze it. And I get some quarterbacks could do that. Peyton Manning did the same thing. If you got a quarterback that could do that, it's awesome. He would rather sit there, try to analyze it, figure out what they're going to do, audible if you have to, or whatever. But he never liked motion. You saw it a little bit with LaFleur there, not nearly as much as we see now. But I think we're starting to finally see, and we said it last year, I think too, what really kind of an offense that LaFleur could put together. And man, I'm a big fan of LaFleur. And I think he is very underrated in terms of, from a national perspective, of how good of a play caller he is. I did like, so when he was like pumped up, you could tell after that first touchdown. I mean, LaFleur brings energy. I mean, he brings an enthusiasm to this team. And I think this play, we talk about Pat Murphy and how the players feed off of him. And he's different. LaFleur's different. LaFleur, I think, brings a lot of energy, brings a lot of passion. And I mean, I would play some of the post game speech he gave in the locker room, but there's a lot of bleeps in there. He brings a different type of, even Hudson noticed it. We were watching a game when LaFleur was like jumping up and down after that touchdown. The words from my 7-year-old was, Pat Murphy wouldn't do that. He's like, and then he demonstrated how Pat Murphy would celebrate. Hand on the chin. So even my 7-year-old recognizes that. But I think too, that after that touchdown, I think Matt LaFleur kind of went into that game yesterday saying, all right, this is on me. I got to make sure I put together a really good game plan, and I got to call a really good game. It was kind of like he was a player in that game. Those competitive juices, I think, really got flowing in him yesterday. And I like seeing that. I love seeing that. I love seeing a play caller kind of get into the mode as a player here a little bit like that. Those competitive juices flowing like, okay, let's do this. Let's go. All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll do some picks and predicts here. Big series coming up for the Brew Crew tonight, starting tonight, Philadelphia Phillies in town. Brewers taking 2 out of 3 against the Diamondbacks yesterday. Nearly had a sweep against the Diamondbacks. But they return home now for a big stretch of games, 3 games against the Phillies, and then 4 against the Diamondbacks. Aaron Civale is going to get the start for the Brewers tonight. He's going to get things let off for the Brewers there. Suarez is going to be on the mound for Philadelphia, which, I mean, he's pretty darn good too. He's 12-6 with a 3.05 ERA. Wheeler's going to get the start for the Phillies tomorrow, 15-6 with a 2.60 ERA. Frankie Montas is going to get the start. And then Aaron Nola is going to get the start for the Phillies on Wednesday with Freddie Peralta. So, yeah, you're good. Brewers offense, you want to talk about a chance to make some noise, a chance to maybe settle some of the doubt out there, or to start to gain some momentum and, kind of ride high into the postseason here. Here you go. This is kind of like a postseason series when you factor you're facing these 3 pitchers. Kind of gives you a little bit of a glimpse that, offensively for the Brewers, kind of like a playoff series because you're going up against 3 stud pitchers, really good pitchers over there. All right, we'll take a quick break and then we'll do our picks and predicts here this morning. After these few words. youth sports teams or anybody in general maybe looking to get some shirts made, some swag made up, but like for those youth sports teams or youth sports leagues, if you're looking for some new jerseys or maybe want to sell some of your merch to help raise some funds, look no further than Resonance Branding Company. Resonance Branding Company can help you well set up an online store, maybe to sell some products to help you raise some funds for your leagues or for your teams out there. Or if you just, you know what, we've had these uniforms, these jerseys for a long time. It's time for an upgrade. Resonance Branding Company can help you out over there too. Just give them a visit. 1728. That's 1728 Spooner Avenue, Suite C in Altoona. You can also check them out online at resonancebrandingcompany.com. Let's do some picks and predicts brought to you this morning by the Elbow Room, located right next to Banbury Place in Eau Claire. If you're looking for somewhere to catch some of the games, catch some of the action, head on over to the Elbow Room right next to the Banbury Place and grab yourself a nice cold beverage. Sit back and talk talk some sports with the friendly patrons over there. Quick look at the leaderboard for our Pro Football Weekly Pick'em Challenge. Right now, I'm bringing it up here. We got interesting because I think we had some upset wins. All right, yours truly, sole possession right now. 23 correct picks here. Got a couple of you who are just one back. James and Ed sitting there at 22. So if you want to get your picks in for week 3, go to our website, sportstalk1051.com. Click on that fan cave tab and get your picks in. We'll start off with tonight's Monday Night Football game. We've got the Eagles taking on the Falcons. No AJ Brown in the game tonight for Philadelphia. It's a little disappointing what we saw from Atlanta last week going up against Pittsburgh. I'm looking for a little bit of a bounce back performance from Atlanta offensively. I'm still going to ride with Philadelphia, though. I know they're a little bit banged up, but I'm still going to ride with Philadelphia tonight. So give me the Eagles. Give me the Eagles in tonight's game. Let's go to baseball here as we are approaching the final couple weeks of the regular season now, believe it or not. We've got Minnesota taking on Cleveland. The Twinnies taking on the Guardians. We've got some really good matchups, games coming up here as we, start to see maybe some teams wrapping up spots or I should say clinching some spots, some movements within the standings and such. So, I mean, we've got some excellent games coming up here. And really quick before I get to making some picks, just an update on where things stand right now in the MLB playoff chase, Major League Baseball chase here. You got the Yankees leading their division. Seems like they've got a little bit more of a gap right now. They're 7-3 in their last 10. Baltimore struggling a little bit, 3-7 in their last 10. So Yankees have separated themselves a little bit from Baltimore. Cleveland is leading their division with 86 wins. Then Houston leading their division with 81 wins. Your wild card teams right now, Baltimore, Kansas City, and the Twins holding on to that final spot. But you got Detroit that's just 2.5 back. Detroit's taking on Kansas City for a series. And then you got Seattle that's 2.5 back. But Seattle's taking on the Yankees. So, yeah, you got some good matchups. Houston is also taking on the Padres. Padres playing for a wild card spot right now. In the National League, you still got your same division leaders. Philadelphia Phillies, the only team with 90 wins right now. You got the Dodgers at 88. Brewers have 86. Padres taking on the Astros, as we mentioned. Diamondbacks are in that second spot. Braves and the Mets tied up here. You got the Braves taking on the Dodgers tonight. Mets going to be taking on Washington. Cubs are the next team, but they're 5 games back from a wild card. So that Atlanta and New York one, and maybe Arizona. We'll see. Arizona's still a couple up on Atlanta and New York. But Brewers fans pay special attention to that 6 seed, that final wild card spot, because if the Brewers are the 3rd seed, that's who they're going to be playing. So with that, let's make some picks. Twins at Cleveland. I'm gonna go with the Guardians in tonight's game. Washington at the Mets. Give me the Mets. Dodgers at Atlanta. Yamamoto versus Max Fried. I'm gonna go Dodgers tonight. Then let's do Arizona. I'm going to try to pick playoff teams here. Arizona at Colorado. Give me the Diamondbacks. Houston at San Diego. Give me the Padres in tonight's game. Philadelphia at Milwaukee. I hate to say this. I hope I'm wrong. I'm gonna go with the Phillies tonight, though. Suarez versus Savali. I'm gonna go with the Phillies tonight. Maybe a little reverse psychology there, but man, I hope I'm wrong. Gosh, I would love 2 out of 3 against the Phillies here. Oh man. All right, let's wrap things up. Another text here from C-Mom. I feel like Malik showed enough that there's no reason to rush Love back this coming weekend. Let Willis go beat his former team and give 10 another week to get healthy. Props to Hudson for taking me down in fantasy football. Yeah, Marvin Harrison Jr. had himself a day yesterday. That helped out quite a bit. And yeah, a couple other players there too. Okay, that might be a question I might throw out tomorrow, but I'll give you a little bit to think about here. With what you saw with the win against the Colts, do you give Jordan Love another week? If you had the choice, okay? Now, if he's cleared, he's probably going to play. Right? I mean, that's probably what's going to happen. But if you had a start or sit situation, if you had the decision, you were the sole decision maker, Matt LaFleur or Pat McKenzie called you, Brian Gutekunst called you and said, okay, Jordan Love's clear. It's not 100%, but he's cleared. Let's just say like barely. I know that's not a very good medical term. Well, let's say he's just barely clear. Given that they won against the Colts and everything that you saw, would you sit him another week to get him ready for Minnesota? Or do you throw him out there? Oh, man. Minnesota's 2-0, though. Maybe that game against Minnesota might be your opportunity to give Minnesota their first loss. You got Aaron Jones coming to town. You know he's going to be motivated to put on a show in front of his former team, his former fans. Still probably got a lot of fans there. How did anything from yesterday's win? If you had, would you sit Love for another week just to give him an extra week if you had that choice? So think about it. And we'll hit it up probably tomorrow because we only have a couple minutes here before I get shut off by the shot clock over there. I want a little more enthusiasm from Packers fans out there. All right, it is a long season. It is just one win. It is just the second game of the year. But I don't know. I was pumped after that game. I was texting a buddy of mine and made a comment like, if I was at that game, that would probably be a game I would have lost my voice halfway through the fourth quarter. And I'm losing my voice right now anyways. But just the way it was going, like, I mean, being loud on defense. You know, just like helping to will your defense to get a turnover, to get a quick 3 and out, to force a punt. Just how that game was kind of flowing and such, it just felt like that was a game that if I was at, man, the intensity would have been high. Like I would have been losing my voice. I would have been way into it. I was way into it yesterday. I was pumped. I wanted that win yesterday. Did not want to start 0-2. I wanted that win. So maybe I'm a little bit more pumped up about the win. I know it wasn't really sexy or anything like that, but I was pumped up about the win just to come away with a victory with your backup quarterback. Maybe I'm more so than others, but let's get pumped up. Come on. Let's go. Let's get a little excited. You can. It's okay. I know we got 15 more games of these to go here, but come on. Okay. So we'll do some Grind My Gears coming up tomorrow too. So can hit us up with your what's grinding your gears tomorrow. All right. Think about those for a little bit and send those puppies on over. We'll talk some more Badgers with RJ Cardinal tomorrow. Looks like it's gonna be Brain Lock. For the foreseeable future. Badgers have the off week, bye week here before they have to head over to the West Coast to take on USC. So we'll talk some Badgers with him. And maybe put to rest that game that we saw on Saturday against Alabama there. So, but RJ's coming up tomorrow. I believe we're going to hear more from Matt LaFleur today. I'm sure he's going to be asked about Jordan Love and such. By the way, fantasy football owners, Isaiah Pacheco, he's going to be out for a while. He suffered a broken fibula injury. So at least 4 weeks, possibly longer. Adjust your fantasy lineups going forward. Now you got Christian McCaffrey going to be missing some time. Man. All right, have a good Monday. Victory Monday. Celebrate it, okay? Victory Scotch. We'll be at it tomorrow.